Valentine's Day is coming up, and these sweet little heart charms are a great, quick and easy project to make that you could do anything you want with. Make a pair of earrings, a necklace pendant, charms for a bracelet, whatever you like. Hi there, Sandy here. Welcome to another creative video tutorial at keepsakecrafts.net. If you've been watching my videos anytime, then you know I love playing with wire, and it's just fun to experiment and see what you can get for shapes. And here are a few that I was playing with the other day. A few variations on this theme for making wire heart charms. They're really quite simple. You can work them up quickly with just a few inches of wire, and of course some bead accents never hurt. So I tried these with a few different gauges of wire. I tried 18, 20, and 22 gauge. Now this one is the 18 gauge, and you can see it's a little bit rougher. It's not quite as smooth as the other two, and that's because the wire was heavy, and after being worked a bit it just got difficult to manage. This one is the 22 gauge, which was super easy to work with, but it's also super bendy and flexy. So I don't know that I would recommend it, except for maybe the smallest of charms. The smaller you go, then the more in proportion that size of wire is. What I thought was perfect was 20 gauge wire, and I used that to make this heart. You could see a couple of variations I have here. You can just do a point on the bottom, which looks very nice and is really easy. You can do a loop on the bottom, which gives you the opportunity to add a dangle, and is almost just as easy. You can add a loop on the inside, or not. You can do a wrap loop on top, or just a simple loop, and you can just add a headpin dangle too. So lots of different ways of approaching it, but let me show you how to make one. So I'm starting with some 20 gauge copper wire, and when you are first learning to do this, like I always recommend, I would suggest you just start with some craft wire or inexpensive wire. And then you can practice on that, and if you want to use something more fancy like silver filled or gold filled or something, then you can do that later once you've got the technique down. As always, I suggest you start with your wire and then straighten it. It just smooths it out and gives you a nice base to start with. Let's start with the one with the loop on the bottom. All you're going to do is find the center of your wire with your round nose pliers, bend the wire down, and for the moment just give a single twist, and then bring those wires back together. Next, take your bail making pliers, and you're going to use these to make the bumps of the hearts. For this one I used the smaller 5mm mandrel on these pliers, and for this one I used the larger 10mm. I think I'll go with the 10mm. Where you place your bumps will change the look of your heart. So if you place them way up, you're going to get a tall, skinny heart, in which case you might want to start with a longer piece of wire. And I'll just use that to shape it. Now just kind of take a look here at your crisscross. We just did those together to make them symmetrical so that both your bumps are the same size, but you could do a kind of wonky heart. Just kind of look at that wrap and pull over the one that will allow the wrap to continue looking nice and not pull it apart. And at this point you can tuck in your round nose pliers and just give it one more twist. That looks really nice, and it looks sweet from both sides. To make the part up here that I put the beads on, I'm going to, if one of these is longer than the other, go ahead and grab that one. Grab it with your chain nose pliers right on the outside of where the wire crosses over the other one. And actually up just a smidge to allow for the thickness of the wire. So if you have really thick wire, allow more. If you have fairly thin wire, allow less. Just go ahead and bend that up. for this other wire, grab it right there, again where they cross, and bend it so it's at a 90-degree angle to the other one. So it should look like that. I'm going to grab that wire with my round nose pliers and make a loop. You can trim that so that it just touches. I thought it was easier to actually twist the entire piece and then trim it off afterwards, and that way I have it exactly the way I want. Make sure you're putting the flush part of your flush cutters towards the part of the wire that you want to keep, and make sure you're only cutting through that one piece and not the lobe of your heart. You might have to actually pull that out a little to do that cleanly. There we go. And while that's open, just go ahead and pop that in. And then close that loop. And bend that in whatever direction looks good to you. You can have it follow the line of the heart. You can bend it so it faces down. All right, we are nearly done. I'm just going to pop a little check fire polish bead on there. Since my wire isn't real long, I think I'm only going to get one on there. That's fine. Go ahead and bend and shape that. And there you go. If you want, before you add your beads, you could take a little time with a hammer, a chasing hammer, and a bench block, and hammer these flat. It would give it some texture and some interesting shape. So here I have an 8-inch piece for the next one, because I will show you how to do the one with the wrapped loops. Start by folding it in half, as close as you can get to half. Then take flat nose pliers work best here, I've found, and really flatten that fold. So that is nice and pinched, and as before, our wires are parallel. I found sometimes after doing this, I actually wanted to straighten it out again. Although don't overdo the straightening, because it'll make your wire too hard to manipulate. Again, tuck in your bail making pliers. Bend that around. And twist one of them out so that you have your heart shape. Tuck in your round nose pliers to the one you want to be the lower loop, and go ahead and fashion your loop right around there. So that'll be your loop to hang an interior dangle. Of course, you don't have to have these symmetrical. If you like asymmetrical hearts, you can change it and shape it. That's kind of cool. I like that. Like before, go ahead and grab that other wire right before where it crosses over the other piece, and bend that wire up. Kind of tuck it in there. The nice thing about doing the wrap loop is it definitely holds it better in place than here, where both of these you can see it kind of shifts off a little bit. I think it looks kind of cute. I sort of like asymmetrical hearts, but if you want them symmetrical, you might want to try this way. So just hold that whole thing, hold that loop with your flat nose pliers. Now you have a couple choices here. If you're going to do a simple loop with this wire, then go ahead and do several wraps with this wire coming off the interior loop. If you're going to do a wrapped loop with this wire, then only do like maybe 1.5 wraps with this one. Otherwise you just end up with a really long wrapped section that looks kind of awkward and out of proportion. Whenever I think I can do it with my fingers, and I find that no, tools really are much better for this kind of thing, especially like a 20 gauge or anything heavier. And as always with loops and wraps, tuck in the loop. Not that. Take a little time to reshape, make it look the way you want. Again, I think I'll throw on a nice check fire polish bead, maybe a few. And you don't have to leave the stem. On these ones, I just did a loop to dangle from something. You may just have to take a bit of time and kind of reshape. And one thing I like to do is take this fold here and make sure that it's twisted so that you're looking only at one wire, and it kind of makes a sweet little shape down here, which you can do more with. You could sort of take your fingers and round that heart a little more. If you distort your lobe shape, just tuck in your bail making pliers again and kind of reshape it. I think I'm going to stop there and just make a simple loop. And there you go, really sweet, simple hearts that you can make with just a few tools. Add a couple beads, embellish them however you like. You could add wire wrapping around the outside, add a wrapped row of beads, whatever you like. I just think they're kind of fun to experiment and play with and add different beads and findings, and this is kind of an idea for you to use as a jumping off point. So I hope you enjoyed this video. If you're interested in the supplies I used, you can click on the eye or the tag in the upper right of the video, or there's always a link in the description box that will bring you to my blog post where I have a complete supply list with links to products. Be sure to subscribe if you haven't already, and take a look at my Patreon page for how you can get bonus tutorials for yourself every month. Happy creating. Bye-bye.